Showtime! Adamma and Adanne Ebo make their feature film debut with Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul.
It was electric. We were like, this is perfect.
A satirical comedy about the proud First Lady and pastor of a Southern Baptist megachurch who must rebuild their congregation and reputation after a major scandal. Today, we're reuniting in Atlanta with the filmmaking duo of Adamma Ebo and Adanne Ebo.
They delivered, yeah.
Along with the film stars Regina Hall.
It felt like family on the set.
And Sterling K. Brown.
So I'm like, how you doing on these lines? She's like, I'm getting there, Brown, I'm getting there.
To break down their exciting new film. Welcome to Focus Features after the movie, Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul. I'm Dave Karger, very happy to be here with 4 members of the cast and crew of this wildly entertaining film. The producer, Adanne Ebo, the writer-director, Adamma Ebo, and stars Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown. Great to see all of you.
Good to see you, Dave.
You're good to be here.
It feels very meta for me to be interviewing you for a movie in which you spent a lot of time being interviewed. What has this whole experience been like for all of you in that regard, doing interviews for this interview-heavy movie?
That's interesting. I never even thought about it until just this moment.
I know.
Because, I mean, they never ask us questions in the film.
Yeah, you know,
right?
Anita doesn't talk. That's
Anita
the
don't
problem.
talk. She a fly on the wall, right? So the fact that you're actually engaging with us makes it different in and of itself. I see. Yeah.
So Adamma, were you off camera kind of as Anita prompting Regina and Sterling on what to say?
You know, I think it was mostly that, like, in between takes, I would go to them and I would be like, okay, imagine that you can see Anita reacting like this, or the crew reacting like that, you know what I mean? So I wasn't, like, feeding them questions as Anita because she doesn't talk. But I was, you know, I was telling them that, like, you guys can see everyone. And they can see you very clearly in everything that happens. And so it was like massaging what the different reactions from the crew would be.
Massaging, I like that. That's nice.
For people who might not be aware, this was a short film 4 years ago that the two of you made, and now you've converted it into this excellent feature film. Adamma, from a creative point of view, what was the most fun thing about expanding the short into a feature?
Oh, the most fun thing. I think it was like broadening the world and being able to show how much these folks have. Being able to, like, go into their home and things like that, see their cars. I think broadening the world really added, to me, a very real and grounded level of satire to it that I think was really needed.
Yeah, we liked making the city of Atlanta a character too.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
got to do that.
We got to do that this time.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the flip side, Adanne, as producer, what was the biggest headache in expanding your short into a feature?
There's all kind of headaches for producers.
It is, everything's a headache. Honestly, I think it was bringing in more people, because naturally the movie's bigger, you have to have more people to help you get it done. And I think Adamma and I are so used to it being just us that, like, having to consult people that weren't just us was difficult. It was difficult.
How much, if at all, did the two of you know each other before this project?
Not at all.
Not at all.
You'd never met each other even?
Minimally. She knew my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, well, everyone knows Ryan.
Everybody knows Ryan. Thank you for that. Shout out to Ryan Michelle.
Yeah.
And so we saw each other at an award show one time.
Yeah.
Regina was very unimpressed with my level of engagement with her. But then we had a Zoom.
Then we had
with
a Zoom.
everybody.
And that's where I met him.
Yeah.
And I will say the chemistry on that Zoom was instant. Adanne and I were like, we barely said anything.
You guys were pretty quiet.
And because it was electric, just watching you guys engage, and not necessarily about the project, just them talking and getting to know each other. We were like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So by this point on the Zoom, is it already established that you two have these parts, or was this like a chemistry Zoom to see?
She had her part, and they were sort of like we were having a meeting about me possibly playing Lee Curtis.
Okay, so what made you feel like this is gonna work, this is our guy?
Well, one, I mean, Sterling's so incredibly talented. So it was instant. It was so clear that it was like, oh, I hope he says yes.
It felt like we had been waiting for
It
Sterling.
felt like...
Truly, it felt like because it really felt divine, because we were
did.
supposed to shoot summer 2020, but COVID happened and that got pushed. And we were like, okay, well then I guess we have more time to find our Lee Curtis. And it just felt like we had been waiting.
This movie is not just a comedy. This is a movie with real meaning especially for the two of you. It speaks to events in your childhood and things that were happening as you were growing up here in Atlanta. And I know there's a message that you're bringing across with this film as well. How important was it in the casting process for you two to find people who were like-minded in their actual lives to play the parts of these two lead characters?
It was actually extremely important to us. I think especially because the film is a satire, but what I'm really proud of is that there is a level of like love and respect for the church and folks' individual faith and spirituality in it, because it could easily like fall into like parody or caricature for people who don't have that respect or that background. And I really wanted people who knew that this is important to a lot of people and who it's been important to them at either at some point or currently. And so it was extremely important. It also like provided a pretty significant shorthand. Like there wasn't a ton of explaining that had to go on. It's just like, you know how they do in the church. And like,
Yeah, that's true.
We learn obviously a lot about Trinity and Lee Curtis in the script and in the film. How much, if at all, did you two invent either together or by yourselves even deeper backstories for these characters? Is that something that you find helpful?
I think Regina's really good,
We did it together.
Sure.
We did it with them. You know, we talked about, do you think, you know, because we had rehearsals. We were really lucky we had rehearsals. So we had a chance to talk about us and then why, you know.
The scandal.
And
what
why we
people
don't have
knew,
kids,
why we
you
don't
know,
have
why we don't, you know what I
kids.
mean? Like things.
I don't want to oversimplify either of your careers, but one thing that's very exciting about this film is to see both of you do things that are a little bit different. There's some real serious moments in there, Regina, for you that I thought you just knocked out of the park. And there's some sillier stuff that people who might only know the character of Randall from This Is Us would be surprised to see. Of course, you've done Brooklyn Nine-Nine and lots of other funny things. But is there something about this movie that allowed you to do something different, and that was part of the exciting aspect of it?
Absolutely. You know, I get told time and time again, man, you make me cry every week. And I'm like, that's great, man. I appreciate that. I want to give people some yucks. You know what I'm saying? Just do something to change it up, because it's real easy to get put into a box until you kind of just sort of like, listen, it's bigger than what you want to give me credit for. So variety is important to me. What about you?
I mean, I just love the character. I just love the idea that she's not completely verbal. You know, she has a lot of nonverbal communication. And so that was also interesting to be like, how do you have this woman who stands beside this man who has such an amazing and big personality? How do you have who Trinity is come through to show what she goes through as a first lady? You have to feel a lot of her journey.
Is there anything that comes to mind if I were to ask you if you remember being on set and watching these two? Was there something that happened or a flavor to these characters that came alive in a way that you wouldn't have even expected in their hands?
All the stuff on the side of the road, like when you're just chronicling them doing the actual roadside ministry, a lot of that is them just riffing. Yeah, I think two things come to mind for each character. The first is in the opening of the film, the bit where Regina starts talking about like the rat, that's all improv.
Yeah.
And that, I was like, it's phenomenal. I was like, that's the beat. And for Sterling, so much so that's not the opening that Adamma wrote. I changed the opening of the movie edit because I thought that was just absolutely phenomenal. And I was like, it says so much about the tone of the movie, this character, and it really sets up the ride you're about to go on. And then for Sterling, it's right before we get to the actual praise miming.
Yeah.
And Sterling, he's kind of berating Trinity a little bit, and he tells her this is ego if she doesn't do this for him. And that's the end of the script, like this is ego. And Sterling adds, you know what ego stands for? Edging God out. And I was like, yes. I was like, that is it. And every time I see it with an audience, the audiences go,
Yeah, they love that edging God out.
So where did that come from?
Different readings.
Okay, so what impressed the two of you the most about this filmmaking team?
This felt like they'd done it before.
Yeah.
Like they
Such an ease, right?
Yes. The environment was, and so Adanne, I feel like, shielded her sister in the most lovely way from other crap that was happening so that she could focus on, like, telling this story in a really lovely way. But then both of them, they'd be like, how y'all doing? You good? And I'm like, how y'all doing? You're making a movie. Like, then thirsty, you see sisters take off in shorts
no,
and
don't
and
you
a
get
cutoff
it.
trying to go get water, just running across. I was like, hey,
Adamma,
calm
please.
down. Go shoot your movie.
Yeah.
Go shoot your movie. They were sweet as pie. The mom and dad would come to set. You know
It
what
was
I'm
a
saying?
very family, or
Yeah.
it felt like family on the set. And maybe because not maybe, well,
They are
because they are family.
Yeah.
Their family was there. It's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it felt like home. It felt like we had a lot of money. I know we didn't, but it never felt.
The producer makes faces like.
I'm glad it felt that way.
Yeah, I
felt
mean,
it.
I felt like we were treated very well.
We were treated
Like,
exceptionally
you
well.
know, like from beginning by the crew.
By being down south, like I had to tell
Yeah.
people, you don't have to walk me all the way from the trailer to
yeah.
the set. I know where it is. It's home.
Yeah,
Very
no, they were
sweet.
great. Everybody.
I'm really intrigued by the fact that the two of you went to college together at Spelman. And then afterwards, Adamma, you decided to get a film degree at
I
UCLA.
love this story. Sorry.
And then Adanne, you decided to get a law degree at
Yeah.
Northwestern.
Well, that was the plan for both of us. That was the original plan, was for both of us to go to law school and go to the same law school. We weren't supposed to split up.
We didn't want
She
to
deviated.
split up.
Yeah.
I deviated, and look, and I did it
The worst possible fashion.
My poor family. I did it at the very last moment. I took the LSAT and everything, and then my final few months at Spelman, I was like, I'm not going. And I'm going to film school instead. It was traumatic for all involved.
Yes.
Thank God you did it. Because
Yeah,
now
yeah.
you have these different skills
Yeah.
that you can bring to bear and be a team.
When you're working with this connection on a set and hearing this, like it's very deep. And this is a slice. There's
And
like
it sets
the way
a tone.
it
Because
sets the
there's
tone.
love and respect and caring
So
there
much love.
that must bleed over.
Of course,
like
I
that.
believe that.
I'm curious, it's a little simple for me to say, oh, I watched this movie and I got hints of like a Christopher Guest style comedy, but I kind of did
I love
in moments.
Christopher Guest.
What were some comedic inspirations and influences for the two of you on this?
Guest was the first thing, especially
I love
after
Christopher
watching the
Guest.
short, which is tonally a little bit different than the film. And then, like, you read the film, you're like, oh, it's a comedy plus. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a little bit extra stuff there, too. So Guest is great. Like, Guffman's one of my favorites. What else would you say for
Well,
this?
I love Best in Show. That's probably
Best in Show is great.
That's
But if you
hands down
ask Adamma, like her comps are like The Lobster and The Favorite. And I was like, who is this little Negro
serious
child talking about The Lobster?
Oh my God, it's a great film.
It's great.
Such a
But
great
like,
film.
because it has sort of an offbeat sense of humor to it. And you don't get a chance to see, we don't get a chance to see us do films like that.
Yeah.
I think that was exciting for me, you know?
Yeah.
Regina, this is obviously something that you have to deal with on any comedic movie you make, but I was really kind of struck by this question when I was watching the movie. What's it like to be performing on a film set and have to do stuff that is so out there and eventually very funny, laugh out loud funny to a movie audience, but to do it in a silent space where no one who's around you is allowed to laugh, and you have to still perform and give all the energy, but you're getting nothing back. What's that like?
Well, surprisingly for me, when I'm thinking of creating a character, even if it's comedic, I'm not necessarily driven by joke, if that makes sense, you know? So it's more by character. So if it's anything my character would do, and like Trinity's slightly, she's askewed, you know what I mean? She's a little to the left over there.
As you point to the right.
Yeah, your left. A little to your left. So it's not, you know, it's not for the laugh, even though, you know what I mean? I don't like seeing people try to be funny. Because then you can't be funny. But if they are who they are, then you can certainly laugh. And so I don't necessarily, but you get a feeling of in between takes when something works, when something doesn't work, and then you get to try it again. But you know, you feel it, and then you feel the energy between, you know, you and your co-star. You know, it's kind of like a ball bouncing back and forth, and like, if you think that's funny, then you would think, because they're both, it's such a, symbiotic relationship.
You asked that question, I'm thinking about when she actually commits to doing the praise mime specifically, right? And she's out there by herself. And it's such a moment of deep pain.
Yeah, that's a
I
pain.
feel like for Trinity. But it causes me great laughter. And not as Lee Curtis, like as an audience member, I think the way that you shot it, like going from the close-up of her, like, this dude is asking me to do this, to like, I'm doing it, right? And then the song comes in, and Regina will say that she can't dance, but I think she can do a little bit. But she just commits to this arm in the air.
Because you know that she can't really do it, but she did it. And so the idea of that is funny. But if you play it to be funny, then you can't. Then it takes it.
Sterling, it's honesty time.
Okay.
People love the scene of you all performing Knuck If You Buck.
Yeah.
The crime mob track is big deal in this movie.
Yeah, man.
Did you have to study? Did you already feel like you knew? If you needed to study, who helped you?
I had no idea this song existed.
Neither did I.
Zip, zero. And like they had in the script.
He told me.
Yeah, it's like they gave us something out there. I don't know. Do you know this song? And she said, Buck, if you who? How? I was like, we missed it. Like, Regina, we missed it. We've been in LA too long. We've been listening to some West Coast hip hop or something, but like this whole crew, they were like, oh, y'all doing Knuck. You gonna come with it? And I was like, I guess so now. Let me look at these lines real quick. And I would just listen to that song over and over, and Regina would be listening to it, and I'm like, how you doing on these lines? She's like, I'm getting there, bro, I'm getting there. But it was fun, though.
It was the very last scene of the day.
Nighttime.
People who could have gone home stayed because they were like, we're not missing this.
Right.
We gotta
was hype.
see it.
It was great.
They delivered. They delivered, yeah.
When you think back to this whole experience, well, for the two of you, A, the fact that you're playing husband and wife, but also just the style and format of this film, I think probably caused you to get fairly close. You two have already been close for decades, but it seems like this working relationship was nice and easy, but also tight, and small budget. What has this whole experience done as far as bonding the four people sitting in front of me?
Oh, I'm so spoiled.
Yeah.
I'm so spoiled.
It's gonna be hard to work with other people.
Every-
And I know we have to, but it's gonna be tough.
Seeing two young, beautiful Black women create and then write and direct and produce a film, it makes me feel amazing. And to be a part of that, to be a part of what they've done, I feel honored. I feel very honored to come and be like, I'm in that, when they're big fancy directors,
You know what I'm saying?
we're gonna
They're
be like,
already
remember
there.
us?
They're already there.
Adamma, Regina.
Yeah, no, I if they came to me with anything, it would get
We're coming.
it would get first priority.
Yeah.
Working with Regina, in a heartbeat, I'd do it again and again.
You four are the dream team. Congratulations, and it's so nice to talk to all of
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thank
Dave.
Great to see you.
Appreciate you.
And if you haven't seen Honk for Jesus Save Your Soul, it's in theaters and on Peacock now.